Welcome to the D Tycoon Show. Community Unity Now. That's what this is about. We're over here at CAN TV, as you can see over there, and and we're having a great time today. I'm here with David Rojas Jr., the co-founder of Alliance 98. TA98 is the abbreviation. So we met at Northeastern Illinois University. I meet so many people there. Trudy Leong, who's a co-host of the show, and I were going into the Wizard, WZRD 88.3 FM, Northeastern Illinois University Radio, and you'll never know who you're going to find when you go to the Wizard. And David was there coming in, and he was doing a tour of universities. I think it's great what he does, but I'm not even going to go there. I'm going to let David say it.
Well, thank you so much, Bill, for having me. This is such an amazing opportunity. I'm extremely grateful. But we started TA98 with the vision to tackle unemployment throughout the entire city of Chicago. In some of our areas, we're seeing the lack of opportunity really stifling a lot of our communities. And so, with that vision, upon the graduation, where I came from Connecticut College, decided to hand out suits and go back to my local neighborhood and try to outfit some young men. And so haven't stopped then, and now we've been able to continue to pass out suits to over 400 young people throughout the entire city of Chicago.
So what inspired you to do this kind of work? What kind of creative idea made this happen?
Yeah, I think a lot of it just stems from the grit of first generation students and families who come to the U.S. for a better future. Mm-hmm. And so understanding the past of my family's struggle to finding employment in Chicago really led me to believe that every single person who is in our city deserves an opportunity to have a job, to be able to actually provide for their families. And so I'm just excited to be able to do this work and really create the change agents in our neighborhood. But it starts with the power of a job. And so that's what I firmly, I believe in that.
That's excellent. And you will be participating in our monthly job fair. Providing some suits.
Absolutely.
To people at the Rogers Park Job Fair. I want to just put that up there on the screen right now. Every month we connect with our local employers with our job fair. Let's see if I can zoom it in. There, that's as good as it gets.
There you go.
And it's at the Rogers Park Chicago Public Library, and you can call 773-850-0049 to get more information. We're accepting employers. We're accepting nonprofit organizations that want to provide suits to job seekers, and we're accepting job seekers.
Great.
So tell me about, you mentioned your family had issues when in the past. Can you tell me a little bit about that?
Yeah, of course. So I'm a first-generation college graduate. So both of my parents came from Mexico, and so just going back to my upbringing and just being in middle school, growing up with a lot of my family, and it's a very typical type of experience for a lot of immigrants, having to live with all of the family to be able to build a foundation for the family, and so not being able to see my father a lot. Just because he had to work long hours. Same thing with my mom. And so I think for me growing up understanding or not understanding at at that particular time, right? Now I have a little bit more sense of understanding and the vocabulary to be able to express why there was those certain conditions imposed in my childhood. So that's a little bit of background as far as again the upbringing and just sort of what fuels this fire, you know.
So you mentioned Mexico, and I've heard that you had a center in Michoacan, Mexico.
Yeah, that's what we're trying to do right now. Yeah.
Do you have it up, or is it on the way, or what's going on?
Yeah. So the whole backstory behind the Center of Entrepreneurs in Michoacan is really stemming back from the town itself. And so I would guess that almost 90% of the local economy in Quiroga, where we're building the center, they're all entrepreneurs. And so we're trying to really scale some of these businesses. And so right now, we're at the preliminary stages. So we're meeting with local people. We're looking at the need. We're really trying to find the nonprofit partners in the community first. And so in a couple days, I will be going back and continuing to reach out to the local leaders there. And right now we're starting to fundraise for the programming. We're starting to actively seek out the donors, the funders, and the participants for this center. But we definitely have high hopes for this. It's something that is very highly needed, especially with the advancement of technology now and just globalization. We're really looking for this partnership with the major capitals, so we can be able to have students travel to the local capital, study, and if they so choose, go and study abroad, or go work abroad, or perhaps stay in the local community, practice your English, and continue teaching English. At the same time, study other languages, perhaps, right? But right now, our main focus is to get this building up and running. And so we have the first floor sort of standing right now. So
you're building it from the ground up?
Absolutely, yeah.
Wow. And what kind of challenges? You have a center. How many centers do you have in the U.S. for starters?
So right now, we are actually looking for our home base. We have been very scrappy and very innovative with the way that we've been running programming. And so a lot of times, our local partners have allowed us to use their spaces to facilitate our main program, which is suited for a cause, which is an 8-week program that teaches professional and sales skills to be able to get yourself a job. And so we are really looking for that home base right here in Chicago, and so we're striving for that. So we've been fundraising, connecting with corporations, with local donors to help us make that dream a reality.
So you're a 501c6 nonprofit organization in the United States, and people are you're doing fundraising, or you may have donors, and people are lending their spaces or giving you a space to operate. And then people get tax write-offs for that here as well. Yeah. What are the challenges in Mexico? How is it different in Mexico than the United States?
Yeah, so being a 501c3 here in Chicago, there's a lot of parallels with what's happening in Chicago, in Mexico. I think what I'm looking at it from the perspective of first, we need to really assess the community, and so this is why I'm going back to really get that defined answer and really look at the facts. There is no data that's being collected in this small town, so it's actually very challenging to find information that allows us to again pinpoint some of the areas that we would need to really tackle. So as I'm meeting with local leaders and I'm meeting with local business folks, I'm really asking for information as like, how can we work together? What are some of the biggest things that you think are affecting your business, the family growth, the quality of life? And right now we're finding out that although there might be English courses there's no pathway program for students to actually continue practicing and applying what they're learning.
Right.
And so I think right now is the perfect time to assess what those challenges really are on the ground. And so I'm very much looking forward to being able to do that in the upcoming days and in the near future.
So, in your opinion, what are the differences between entrepreneurship in Mexico and the United States?
I mean, the first thing, laws are completely different. Ways of doing business are completely different. I also think that the level of awareness in different regions is different because of the lack of resources that communities do have. And so in my particular town, for example, we are a touristic city. That's our largest economy is tourism. And so our families depend on local tourists to be coming to the town to be able to buy the handmade crafts, the local foods. And so that I think, those are just some of the simple examples, but I definitely want to go deeper into understanding how the relationships in Mexico could be fostered.
I know that in Michoacan, the people are very creative, very entrepreneurial spirit. We have a lot of small business owners from Michoacan in Rogers Park, where I'm the Chamber of Commerce president, so I know them very well. I work with them every day. I visit their businesses, do business well-being checks, so I really understand them. They own restaurants or bars, usually, but the other things too. There's a lot of storefronts along Clark Street. You'll find restaurant, and then maybe a bar and some more restaurants. A lot of restaurants. Yeah, they really cook.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, in Michoacan, it's the capital state of Las Carnitas, right? So,
yes, it is.
Yeah, you know very well. So it's
and the sauces.
I mean, absolutely. I mean, the state of Michoacan, you plant something and it grows. It's just so fertile, and I think if we continue to again invest in education, young people could do some amazing things in that state and across the entire country. And so as we're building these relationships across our borders and we're building the relationships in our local city, my hope is to really create this exchange of culture, this immersion, where we are taking people from all walks of life and being able to see parts of Michoacan, be able to see Quiroga and experience the hospitality, the local foods. And so I'm just indebted to my family. And so from being able to provide employment here in Chicago to being able to create jobs in Quiroga, it's the same mission, and we truly believe that we can tackle unemployment through entrepreneurship.
I want to know what are the qualifying factors for people to get assistance with your organization?
Yeah, so for suited for a cause in particular, you have to be between the ages of 16 to 24. And so if you are between the ages of 16 to 24, you qualify for our professional development program, where you can register online at www.ta98.org, and you can connect through the platform there. You can also send us a message on social media. We're on all platforms, so you can definitely find more information on us there. But as far as coming together as a community, everything is on our website. You can become a volunteer. You can become a sponsor, a donor. If you all also need support, like we're doing on this job fair, this is what we want to do. So,
excellent.
Yeah.
Excellent. And I know you were touring universities. You were all over the place.
Yeah.
And we caught you at a very opportune moment.
Yeah,
that was really cool.
Yeah.
So please describe your work in the Little Village area. Tell me about that.
Wow, well, born and raised in La Villita, and the first thing that I always think about is there's Cook County prison there,
Right.
So I always think about the children who have to grow up seeing other young children locked up from across the street from the new park that we have, and so I always think about like what are young people going to actually see, because you can't be what you can't see, right? So I'm just I'm looking back at all the opportunities that I had in my community, where I'm just tracing back to the Boys and Girls Club of Chicago, who really was a safe haven for me at the time of my middle school years, and there I became staff. So not only was I a participant of the Boys and Girls Club, but I became a staff of
You became a leader.
the Boys and Girls Club, right? Having the opportunity to go to my neighborhood school, which was built out of a hunger strike. And so with that sort of culture, there's always this want to give back to my local community. And so if it's programming, from like resume help to running our local programs in Little Village. I mean, we started in Little Village with passing out over 70 suits to young men, and so we are continuing to do that. And so I just feel so strongly about the work that is going on in our neighborhoods. There's a ton of great organizations. There's a lot of great business leaders who've been supportive of all the efforts that we've been able to put together, and so from the mentoring piece to providing additional resources for employment, this is kind of what we've been doing.
So tell me about your reentry initiative a little bit.
So as far as reentry, we have great partners in Chicago, and so we want to make sure that if we have those suits, we want to make sure that those organizations receive the supplemental resources to be able to again help those young people, or just help people get that suit to be able to look like $1 million. And then these organizations are doing tremendous work with restorative justice practices to be able to re-engage and make programming accessible. And so our work is very limited as it pertains to re-entry, but we have great partners that we donate to specifically on the suits, with the suits. So that's kind of,
So how does it address long-term rather than just short-term? How does it address the long-term community needs?
Yeah, so I feel like when I got my first suit at 16 years old, that was the first time that I had ever worn a suit. Typically, in my culture, right, you wear a suit where you have to go to church, or it's like your first communion or your confirmation, right? But it's not really a professional suit. It's not a garment that you can wear to go to a job interview or go for your actual say like internship, and so when I saw the possibility to receive my first garment, thanks to the Boys and Girls Club of Chicago, I connected with great leaders there and saw people that looked like me wearing a suit and tie, and so with that sort of scope, I hope that a suit and a tie can impact someone at whatever age to continue pursuing their goals and their dreams. But I really do believe in the power of having at least one suit that can just change the perspective of a young person's life.
That's excellent. I wear the suit too.
Yeah, I mean, you're looking great. You're looking great, bro.
Yeah. There's a time and a place to wear
Absolutely.
it or not to wear it, but
Absolutely.
I wear the suit too. I think it's important to get your point across and to be presentable and to be taken seriously at serious occasions.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So let me just go through this quickly here on the overhead. This is the D Tycoon show. Mayor Tycoon, she ran for mayor, and when I was running for 49th Ward Alderman, we became friends, and this was her show, and she lent it to Trudy Leong and I.
Wow.
So this is what we're doing. We're working together to improve our community. And now I'm running for 49th Ward Alderman. So, committeeman. I ran for Alderman. I'm running for committeeman. And the job of the committeeman is to preside over the elections, make sure they're fair elections, make sure they're inclusive, and to get out the vote, to register people to vote, and to make sure it runs smoothly. And that's something I can do. All right, want to introduce your colleague here?
Yeah, so this is Joseph Cerda. He is a former participant of Suited for a Cause and is now running his own media company.
Mm-hmm. Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me.
So tell us about Joseph.
Yeah, so I was born and raised here in Chicago.
Tell them.
Been here my whole life. Born and raised in Chicago, over on the northwest side in the Montclair neighborhood. I recently graduated from Roosevelt University. Mm-hmm. Studied philosophy, writing, and film. And so recently, actually a year ago this month, I actually met David, and he gave me the opportunity to use my skills in videography specifically to provide him a documentary of his program, Suited for a Cause. And so, so it's been really great. It's been a year of meeting with David and just kind of seeing how I can turn my talents into a career, basically, because I know that's a challenge for a lot of creatives who want to use their art skills professionally and try to make a living out of it.
Mm-hmm. So tell me about your experience in media and what led you to David precisely.
Okay, so I have always been interested in film and storytelling, and so that's actually where I want to go into, and that's going to be the realm I'm going to be into for the rest of my life, storytelling, writing, film. And so I actually met David through a mutual friend named Joel. So thank you, Joel. Joel's a photographer, and when I finally got serious about my videography, I reached out to Joel and we connected, and then Joel mentioned how he knew David. Not sure how you knew Joel right away, but he basically said that David needs a videographer for this documentary, and that this is my chance to show what I have to do. And so I called David and texted him until we finally got a meeting. We met over in downtown on a nice rooftop, and I've never had been to a rooftop before, so he was exposing me to new environments already right off the bat. And he basically talked to me about my own goals and what I want to do with my talents. Before even offering me anything, he got to know me personally, which is, I think, is the most effective way to reach a person, get to know them genuinely. And so he basically, we met up, and he told me about the project, and he told me, you would be essentially meeting on Saturdays when you're out of work, because I was working at the time also. And we met up for every Saturday that the cohort was being was in session, and I filmed and I edited and I got the documentary done like a month later once the cohort ended, and he basically told me, like, you can turn this into what you want to do for the rest of your life. You can turn this into your career. Mm-hmm. And he basically coached me in how to sell myself and how to offer my expertise to the general public. It kind of stemmed from there.
That's great. We only have a short amount of time left on this interview. Can you show us what you're wearing there?
Yes, this is the Alliance 98 T-shirt. Actually, David gave it to me. I got this for my first networking event when I was finally ready to go on my own. I would go with David a lot, because he was coaching me and mentoring me. And so I went on my first networking event, wore this. He said, you should just represent what you're doing because you're doing something great. I'm 23 years old, and it took a full year, a year ago, this month, to actually get a running business going. And so now I'm at the point where I can bring on students and mentor students and actually give them experience in the field, in the media realm specifically. And so that's basically what the Alliance is doing, but just in different realms. Mine specifically was for media because that's where I want to go.
That's excellent. And David, before we get out of here, could you give us some contact information, maybe the web address, how to reach you for your organization?
Yeah, absolutely. So you can find me on LinkedIn at David Rojas Jr. You can also visit our website at www.ta98.org. And again, we're on all social media platforms. So please feel free to engage with us, have a conversation. And if there are young people that want to be coached, we're looking forward to it.
Excellent. And this is our episode of D-Tycoon. Thank you so much for joining us this time around. I appreciate you guys.
Thank you so much, Bill.
And we're going to work together a lot
Thank you so
with
much.
the chamber and otherwise. I want to bring you guys to Rogers Park.
Yeah.
Oh, definitely.
Thank you very much,
Yeah, thank you.
and have a good evening.